Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a pretty powerful psychological technique, one that can totally transform any negotiation or tough conversation you're in. You know that feeling, right? When you're in an argument and it just spirals out of control. You feel completely trapped. And it seems like the harder you push your point, the more the other person just digs in their heels. It's this battle of wills, and you feel like there's just no way to win. Okay, so this is where our natural instincts kind of lead us astray. We think, to win this, I've got to force my point across. But that approach, it almost always backfires. It just makes the other person defensive, and boom, you're at a stalemate. But here's the thing. There's a much, much better way. One that actually invites collaboration and gets you to a real solution. And this really gets to a huge misunderstanding we have about what it means to influence someone. We have this myth that getting someone to admit they're wrong is a win. But in reality, it's a terrible strategy. It's completely counterproductive. You don't just stall the conversation, you're actively building resentment. And you're ignoring a basic, fundamental rule of how people tick. Right, and this is exactly why that old force-it method just doesn't work. It triggers our most basic, primal defensive instincts. Think about it. When you ask someone, "Why did you do that?" in the middle of a conflict, it just sounds like an accusation, doesn't it? It's like you're pointing a finger right at them, and their brain just goes straight into defense mode. But lucky for us, there's a much smarter and way more subtle way to handle things. So what is it? Here's the secret. Real influence isn't about grabbing control. It's about giving the illusion of control. You want to create a situation where the other person feels totally empowered, like they're the one calling the shots, all while you're the one subtly steering the conversation exactly where you want it to go. And listen, this isn't some new corporate buzzword or anything. This is a strategy that's been around for centuries. You've got Sun Tzu in The Art of War saying things like, "When able to attack, we must seem unable." That ancient wisdom, it's the exact same principle that the best high-stakes negotiators use today. They've learned that empathy and really understanding the other person's psychology is way more powerful than just trying to bulldoze them with logic. And, you can see this shift happening everywhere. Take the FBI, for instance. They figured out that in the most intense situations you can imagine, like a hostage negotiation, trying to be purely logical just falls flat. The real key to success wasn't some complex argument, it was empathy. True influence is about really understanding the other person, not just winning an argument. And this whole shift in thinking brings us to one incredibly powerful tool. And that tool is called the calibrated question. So what is it? Well, it's basically a special kind of open-ended question. It starts with how or what, and it's designed to do something brilliant. It removes aggression and gets the other person to solve your problem for you. It's like a precision tool for diffusing tension and completely reshaping a conversation. And the best part is, they often don't even realize you're doing it. Okay, so how do you actually build one of these? It's way simpler than it sounds. First, you just start with the words how or what. That's it. Those words immediately get the brain thinking about solutions, not conflict. Second, you aim the question at their world, their problem, from their perspective. And then, step 3, you just let them do the work. Let them burn their energy coming up with a solution that just so happens to work perfectly for you. And the difference this makes is it's huge. Think about it. If you say, "Why would you offer that?" That's an attack. But if you reframe it to, "How am I supposed to do that?" Well, that's not a challenge, is it? It's a genuine request for help. And with that one little change, you've just shifted the entire mental workload onto them. They're not your opponent anymore. They're your collaborator. It's basically a kind of negotiation jujitsu. Yeah, let's call it listener's judo. I like that. Because just like in actual judo, you're not trying to meet force with more force. That's a losing game. Instead, you're taking their energy, their arguments, their anger, even their threats, and you're using their own momentum to gently guide them where you want to go. So, how do you do it? How do you redirect all that energy? First, you start with what's called tactical empathy. You just acknowledge what they're feeling. Something simple like, "It sounds like you're really upset about this." See? You're not agreeing with them, you're just putting a name to the emotion. And then you pivot with a calibrated question. What are you hoping to accomplish by doing this? And just like that, it's not a fight anymore. It's a problem you're both looking at. And by the way, this works wonders for disarming personal insults too. Actually, one of the most brilliant ways to handle a direct attack is, well, it's not to defend yourself. It's to just agree with the insult. It sounds crazy, I know, but it completely pulls the rug out from under the other person. And you want to see a master at work? Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln. So he's in this super heated debate, and his opponent, Stephen Douglas, stands up and calls him two-faced, right in front of everyone, a huge insult. But instead of getting angry or defensive, Lincoln just pauses. He looks out at the crowd and he says, honestly, if I were two-faced, would I be showing you this one? Just like that. One line of perfect self-deprecating humor, the attack was gone. His opponent's power vanished, and the crowd, they absolutely loved it. And that story right there gets to the absolute heart of it. The real leader in any room, it's not the person making the loudest arguments. It's not the one being the most forceful. It's the one who's asking the right questions. The one who's guiding the whole conversation and shaping the final outcome without anyone ever feeling like they were strong-armed. So at the end of the day, this isn't about being passive or a pushover. It's about being incredibly precise psychologically. There's a great quote from a negotiator that sums it all up. I ask how because the one who solves the problem is the one who leads the outcome. It's brilliant. You guide them to come up with a solution which makes them feel empowered, and at the very same time, you make sure that solution works perfectly for you. And that is the real power here. It's mastering a whole new level of assertive communication. So the question for you isn't really, does this stuff work? We know it does. The real question is, how are you going to use it in your next conversation to turn what could be a nasty confrontation into a real collaboration?